Hey everybody, it's Garrett here. In this video I wanted to show you how I blend up some inexpensive bonsai soil. It's made up of 3 parts, and it's going to be this thin pine bark, and then it's going to be some perlite, and then it's going to be some fuller's clay. This fuller's clay, it's called safety Sorb. I found it at Tractor Supply, and it's pretty cheap stuff. I think it was like $7 for that bag. I'm going to be screening out all the small particles into this bucket, and then the remaining particles I'm going to put in this bucket, and that's going to be the soil. I got this idea from the legendary Nigel Saunders, so thank you, Nigel. I really appreciate you putting out there how to do this mix. I'm going to start with the perlite here. I got this at Home Depot, and it was about $4. But you see all the little small grains in there? That's what we're trying to take out. So we only want the bigger grains for our bonsai pots. I have this mesh screen from my toolbox actually that I'm going to use to sift out. And it's got about a 1/4 inch hole size. So I'm going to just sit here and rub the perlite, and then all the small particles fall through into the bucket. And then the bigger particles I can pick up and put in the other bucket. So here I'm going to finish the whole rest of the bag, that way I can get it all done at one time. This is a small bag of perlite, so if you want to make a big batch, you're going to probably want to get a bigger bag. Those bags probably run about 15 bucks or so. So here you could see the small particles that have drained through the screen. Don't throw it out because you could use them for cuttings and things like that, and seeds. But this is the stuff that we want for our bonsai pots. See how it has the larger grain size? I'm gonna just dump all these larger particles back into the bag so I can keep it separated for now. And then I'm gonna move on to screening out the clay. I'm going to dump all the fines that I have into this little bucket, that way I can keep it separated for now. And now with the clay. This is a 30-pound bag, so this will last you a very long time. It's called Fuller's Earth. It's very similar to calcined clay. It's just an inexpensive clay material that stays granular in your bonsai pot. And it won't really break down fast, similar to calcined clay. But I'm going to go through the same process that I did with the perlite, with the clay here. Get all the small particles into the bucket, and then I'm going to just save the larger ones. So here it is again. These are the smaller particles, and that's good for cuttings and seeds and stuff like that, but this is the ones that we want for the bonsai pots. So these are the fines of the perlite and the clay. I like to save them, that way I could use them for propagating and things like that. But now I'm going to move on to cutting up the pine bark. This bag of pine bark I got at Home Depot for about $4. It's a very large bag, and it's the mini pine bark size, but it's still too big to put in a bonsai pot. So what I do is I just cut it into smaller pieces and then just stick them in the bucket there. But it takes a very long time to do this process, to be honest. The only benefit is that it's super cheap. So this is the particle size I like for my pots. I'm gonna just cut about the same amount of each of the perlite and the clay mixtures that I made. You could skip this whole process and go to the pet store, and they have, like, in the reptile section, the fur bark for like the lizards and stuff like that. They come pretty much this size already, where you won't have to cut it. But the only downfall is that that bag is like, it's like $25 or so. So it really just depends on how much you want to spend on it. I just opted to go for the cheap $4 bag and cut it myself, rather than just paying more, because the whole purpose of this is to keep it as cheap as possible for me. So here I'm putting everything in a bucket. I'm mixing equal parts of the perlite and the clay and the pine bark. So I have a 1:1:1 ratio, and that's gonna give you like a general purpose mix that's pretty much good, where it'll keep the water retention and drain well. So here I'm just mixing it up, and then that's pretty much all there is to it. And this is pretty much how you want the mix to look when you're done. It's just a 1:1:1 ratio, and that's going to give you like the best beginning mix, and then you can adjust from there depending on your climate, because every climate is different. So you just want to see what works best for you. Now I made just this small amount just to test it out first before I make the rest of the batch. But you're gonna want to just see what works best for you. You can adjust. You could add more of one, add less of the other. But I have these 2 bags left, and they're more than half full still. So, like, these are the fines I have. So I'm gonna use those for cuttings. I have them separated. But the whole point is that it's inexpensive. This little bag that I'm holding in my hand, that was like $20 online. And it's basically the same mix. It's got like lava rock instead of perlite, but it's gonna work basically the same way. So if you want to spend $20 for a pre-mixed bag, that's up to you, but you can make way more for less. I think I spent like maybe $20 on this whole entire, all of these bags put together. It was probably less than that. So give it a try. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.